Welcome to the Hounslow South Isleworth Osterley and Spring Grove Area Forum. My name is Councillor Karen Smith and I've recently been appointed as the chair of the forum alongside my colleague Councillor Aftab Siddiqui, who will be our deputy chair for this year. I'd like to welcome you all to the meeting and I hope that many of you were able to speak with our stallholders and present stallholders today and receive useful information and advice. I'd like to begin by thanking the outgoing chair, Councillor Lukey, who unfortunately couldn't be here this evening, for the excellent leadership he has provided during his time as chair, and I look forward to continuing and extending this work and the relationships developed within this area forum's local community. As it's now just after 7:30, we'll move to the formal part of the meeting where we'll work through the items on the published agenda. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be made available for viewing on Hounslow Council's YouTube page in the coming days. For tonight's proceedings, I as chair will be running the meeting and inviting people to speak. We have a fairly full agenda tonight. I will, however, endeavour to allow as many people as possible to speak. With that in mind, I'd ask members of the public to wait their turn and not interrupt people when they're talking or comment during contributions of others. It may, of course, not be possible for everyone here to ask a question due to time constraints. If you don't get a chance to ask your question, please share it when you complete the evaluation forms, which are available on your seat. If you don't have one, Christopher Jarvis, our Community Development Officer, will provide one. Please use the box at the end of the form to write down your question and your email address, and a response will be sent directly to you. Please hand them in to our Community Development Officers, who you can see along the sides of the seating. I don't know if anyone wants to identify themselves. Anyone here? Christopher here. Okay. There we go. Hand them in to Christopher, thanks. Agenda item 2 is apologies for absence, declarations of interest and anything else from members. I have received apologies from Councillor Lukey for this evening. I don't know if we have any other apologies.
Councillor Shane.
Thank you, Councillor Stroud-Turp. And does anyone have any declarations of interest or anything else they want to say? Lovely, thank you. Before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the recent tragic incident in Hounslow. As many of you will know, Dara Omar, a student at West Thames College, sadly lost his life to knife crime this week. Our heartfelt condolences go out to his family, friends, and the college community during this incredibly difficult time. This is the second West Thames College student to have lost their life to knife crime this year. In light of this, we will now share a short video created by student Sophia Qureshi as part of her final major project on this very issue.
For the past few years, the incident rate has gone higher than any other types of homicides of all age groups.
Knife crime itself is very, very complex. Crime of stabbings and murders. Well, actually, that's a very small part of knife crime. Lots of knife crime are things like theft or robbery, where people say they have a knife or show a knife and take property from someone. That's what more of the knife crime is. By bringing a knife into a fight, for example, it could be used. That increases the dangers and the chances of being hurt. It also increases the dangers of people's lives being ruined by being caught with a knife and potentially going to prison. So we have the law, we have education, and then the last part really, in policing we call it pursue. So that means trying to find who is carrying knives and stop them. Because the consequence for that person could be that they're stabbed themselves because they've taken a knife and it's been used in a fight, that maybe it's been taken from them and they've been stabbed themselves, which is a significant consequence. If they use it themselves to stab someone, they might have to deal with the guilt of knowing that they've caused that person serious harm or killed them, and that person's family will never see that person again. They will also go to prison for that. And that will be their life ruined as well. I encourage all young people to check in on their friends, and if they think things are going wrong for them, tell someone, help them, try and assure them that it's okay, they don't need to carry knives.
So I would now like to invite everyone who's able to stand and observe a minute's silence to remember Dara Omar, a young life lost too soon, and all those affected by knife crime. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, now move on to agenda item 3, which is the minutes of the previous meeting from the 11th of March. I don't propose to go through these page by page. Are members happy to agree the minutes?
Yes.
Lovely, thank you. Agenda item 4 is our action tracker and action plan presentation. So I would like to welcome Christopher Jarvis and our local community development officer. Christopher will introduce the Area Forum Action Tracker and Action Plan. The plans are being presented to all the area forums and will mean more clarity and greater focus on areas important to our residents. Please hold questions until the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. So this is just a quick introduction of the Area Forum Action Plan and the do's and don'ts, which will follow through just from my actions, what we cover within the forum to make sure it covers into our future forum rounds as well. So, next slide, Gary. There we are. So what is an Area Forum Action Plan? An Area Forum Action Plan are a new way for residents and community groups to raise local priorities, aspirations and needs to work with the council, partners and the wider community to develop actions. Each action is added while be championed by a councillor who will bring everyone together to achieve those actions and report back to the forum with the updates until that action is achieved. How are the items added to the action plan? So the idea proposal is a resident shares their idea with a member or a community development officer, like myself. They will develop and review the idea and with potential participants to see if it can be done, which will lead into the forum and action plan. If supported, the idea is to present it to the forum and add it to the action plan with a councillor as action champion, which will implement and update to the forums. A working group guides them and provides the progress of those updates online at our forums and at our forums. So the achievement listing is once completed, the action is listed as an achievement and the forum's Let's Talk Hounslow page, which I'll later introduce. So what is an Area Forum Action Plan? It means to support the residents to raise local priorities and aspirations and needs with the aim to achieving outcomes. It's a way to bring communities, the council and partners together to develop and deliver those actions. It's a tool to support councillors as community leaders and a tool for communities to keep the council to account and to keep the focus of the forum on delivering outcomes for residents. What it is not is a list of unachievable actions with unclear outcomes, a list of actions that does not have support from those affected or those who would who would deliver onto them, a list of items which should be dealt with as part of business as usual with other mechanisms in place. For example, a replacement of petitions. So the different ways to add items onto the Area Forum Action Plan is contacting your councillors or your officers, your community development officers, online or through our Let's Talk page. So with our Let's Talk platform, which you've mostly seen in the Hounslow marketplace downstairs, with the QR codes, that takes you straight forward to our Let's Talk platform. And also at the Area Forum, and via community development stores that you've seen at the welcome desk, will always be standing there as well to take notes as well. So an action plan versus an action tracker, with its do's and don'ts. With the action plan, does not include members' casework, business as usual requests raised to the forum, include information requests and updates onto the forum questions, or include petitions or complaints, but it does include community projects. Councillors, offers, and community will provide updates at those forums as well. With the action tracker, it is not to include members' casework again, includes petitions or complaints, includes community projects which liaise with the action plan, but what it does do, it does include business as usual requests which was raised at the forum, which will be followed through into future forum rounds. It does include information request updates and responses to the forum questions. And council officers will provide updates at the forums as well. And just lastly, with the updated slides, this is your Let's Talk Hounslow page, which is around the 3 wards, to update you on all the area forum updates, including minutes, actions, and the forum recordings as well. And if you have any questions leading into the forum, especially themes and updates on who you'd like to see at our forum, it will always come through to myself. And with that, which I will also liaise with the chair and vice chair moving forward into our forum planning. And thank you so much for listening. If there's any questions, do let me know.
Thank you, Christopher. So yes, I'd now like to ask if there are any questions. Okay, the lady in the pink top, please.
Right, my name's Janet Clark. I'm a member of Isleworth. We always have this, or I always have this problem every time we're doing Let's Talk, Let's Give, whatever. There are many, many residents, and I've come across them recently, who do not have IT access. They're unable to get to their local libraries. How do you propose to get in touch with them to find out what their views are? How will they get access? How will they contact their councillors, and so on? Because very little comes. I mean, and I know we're short on money. Very little comes through our door. Quite often, what comes out in the Hounslow magazine, Hounslow Matters, often comes out once things have already happened or have already passed. So, how are we going to get over that?
With the models we've have kind of taken place with our community hub spaces and trying to link them into local libraries as well to kind of bring our local services closer to your doorstep, rather than saving the time from coming into Hounslow House, which I know is very difficult for residents to come to. So we are trying to implement in different methods we can try to reach out closer to our residents. I know a few have been suggested in the past where it's very difficult to get online, hence why we do take written confirmation to increase on our feedbacks for us to get in contact with you directly, especially for myself as your CDO, covering the 3 wards and working closely with your councillors as well. Where they do provide their contact details and reach out to you as closely just to monitor the matter. But we are trying our best in terms of our communication moving forward. So that if there's any suggestions you feel is better ways to reach out to you, as again, just fill out our feedback forms and I will get back to you on that as well. I hope that kind of answers your question. Yeah.
did you want to reply to that? Or yeah, please. John.
Yeah, thanks very much, Janet. As you say, we are aware that there are a number of people, and we all get people who come to our surgeries who don't have the digital means, and we're also aware that the people who, through mobility, can't get them. But certainly, what we'd ask is, if anybody is aware of somebody who's got a real issue, they can't. The mobility issue prevents them coming to a surgery, and they're not digitally enabled. If a friend contacts a counsellor, we're regularly walking around the wards. We get door knocking. We will go out of our way to call on any individuals who want to speak to their counsellors and have got an issue, and we will help them. I mean, obviously, we've been limited to how many people we can do it for, but I don't suspect there's a great deal. But if you are aware or anyone else is, drop your local counsellor an email, and the counsellors will, on one of our canvassing mornings, we will try to call in and see that resident and see if we can help them with their issues.
Thank you, Councillor Stroud-Turp. Okay, lady on the end.
Why, when community projects are accepted into this reinvented system, why does the tracker not track them? On your slide, it said it won't be tracked, so what's the point of having it on the list, and when will we know the outcomes of them?
That would then follow through into the action plan. So if a suggested group or a community spotlight is to be presented, we will make sure we bring it into our next rounds and with planning. So with our community area now, with our community focus group theme process that we're at in the summer rounds, we will try and reach out into our community groups to make sure that they're at our marketplace to showcase what they're doing. And so also, if they want to do a presentation, we'll do a spotlight for them as well, and to get more people engaged in terms of volunteering projects.
Sorry. Could you say in plain English why they're not going to be tracked so that members of people that come to area forums will know what the updates are, and people that don't will be able to see them in the minutes? I didn't understand what your answer meant.
So with the action plan, when it comes to community projects, is to showcase what they're doing within their areas. For it to be, it's not within the action tracker, because it's business as usual. So it's not to include the community project, because that follows through into the action plan as your CD officers and monitor what they're doing within the area and how we can support them better. So when we do lead them into the area forum, we try and increase them to come to our marketplace stalls so they can use their outreach services within our forum as well. So I hope that hope that kind of makes sense.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm Jackson. I'm the new secretary of the Isleworth Society. So where will these action plans be published?
As we're at the introduction stage now, I'm just introducing it to yourself. So they will be taken place into our next winter round, which will be on the 14th of October. So that will be the first step of when it will be published. But this will be published within the minutes as well.
Yeah, but not everybody's got IT, so they might not see the minutes. Where else will they be published so that people who don't have IT, people that don't come to the forums, will know that they exist? Will it be put in Hounslow Matters, which I know is delivered through every door? I mean, there's 2 flats in my house. We only get 1 copy, but that's another story. And I haven't got a problem with that because I can share it with my neighbours. But where will people be able to find this information if they don't have access to IT? They can't get to the area forum because of mobility issues, and so they don't necessarily know where to look on the Hounslow website.
As mentioned in previous meetings, I know it's very difficult for us to reach out for people that are not very digital inclined at the moment. So we are trying to put a lot of our requests onto Hounslow Matters and our local newsletters, as well as working with our comms team. But we are trying to improve on that to make sure we are reaching out to everyone and not just the ones at the area forum or who are not involved on IT skills as well. So we are trying our best with different methods of communication, but I can definitely kind of follow that up through to see what other suggestions we have for future.
Hello, I'm Frances Houston and I live in Isleworth. My point is, well, first of all, I think thank you for making some attempt to make the area forum more inclusive and involving local people. I think that's the direction we have to move in, and I think that's a good thing. My first reaction is, though, it's a wee bit over. It feels a little bit over-engineered, if I'm honest, and very complicated. And I think that the key will be, because it's quite hard to understand what kind of things you've got in mind, and maybe it's hard for you to say, but we've been told quite a lot about the things it won't include. It would be quite nice to have one or two ideas of what it could include, for instance, and then how that's going to be followed up. And the key, as you've said several times, is communication. And as we know, to be honest, it doesn't work very well. I mean, even the Let's Talk platform, when I looked at it tonight before I came, I don't even think it had the date of this forum on, had the March one still on. So a lot of that is going to depend on how well you can follow up, what we'll be talking about and how we're going to follow it up in a realistic way. But having said that, I do appreciate that this is probably the start of a journey, and it's a good thing to make the forum a little bit more listening.
Thank you. And just to follow with the Let's Talk platform, with every area forum that we do, like I do try to keep up to date and make sure the key dates are on there. And I know with a mobile view, it is located at the bottom, and you'll also see myself at the bottom as well as your community development officer, just with key contact details. But I am trying to constantly improve it, hence why feedback, just how to improve it, we do ask, how can we improve the website to make it more efficient for yourself and user-friendly? And also making sure that it's relevant to key matters when it comes to asking questions at the forum, which will kind of lead into our clerks and chair and vice chair as well to keep on top of that as well. But again, it's just trying out our platforms and ways to communicate. But I can let you know that all the suggested dates are ahead for until the end of the year, which will be here at West Thames. And again, it's just trying to improve future themes and how we can interact more and just, again, further out a better communication.
Thank you, Christopher. I think there's one last question at the back, and then okay, can we sort of try and make them quite short, please?
I'll be quite short. Interestingly enough, that I was going to mention the online stuff. I put my hand up, I worried away on that. So I'm going to make a suggestion, because it seems quite sensible to me that in Hounslow Matters, you put email addresses for virtually everything and phone numbers for virtually nothing. So I would suggest that every time there's an email address as a contact point, there's also a phone number as a contact point, and then people who aren't online might feel they are a bit more included. Can we do that? Can that happen?
I can definitely take that back and try and improve that as well.
Look forward to seeing that one.
Tom?
So just on phone numbers, I know phone numbers are really important for some people because they're not online. I certainly have put my phone number on our leaflets, our political leaflets they are, but they've gone through every door multiple times, so my number has landed on every single mat multiple times in Hounslow South. Now, what people do with those leaflets, it's entirely up to them, but we're going through another round, aren't we, Karen, at the moment, going around every door? And again, every house will get a leaflet with mine and CR's and Karen's face on, our email address and our phone number. So we can certainly take that back, but I know that happens in Hounslow South. I know it happens in Isleworth. I'm probably certain it happens in Osterley as well. It happens across the borough. I think that's really, really important. The other thing to point out about online is from the last couple of rounds of surveys that we've done, that we know that 90% of people in this borough have good access to the internet and to email and getting online. Now, obviously, my maths being what it is, 10% don't around that. That is important that we do that. But we've got to remember this, actually, if you put stuff online and you make it easily accessible online, appreciating that sometimes the website isn't updated as much as it should be, that is going to hit the majority of people. We do have to, very, very important that we also hit those 10% that aren't accessible, don't have access online. But the things that we're doing are certainly, in the case that we're talking about here, and making sure information is online, is hitting the vast majority of people, because the vast majority do. It's not to dismiss anyone else. So I'd say phone numbers are available. I'm happy to give you mine. And we can look at whether that is. There might be reasons why we don't do it like that, I don't know, but Christopher will take that away and look at it.
Now, to be clear, I accept that councillors put their numbers so we can get hold of councillors, but I'm talking about specific initiatives where there's a specific email address given for a specific department where you want to speak to that initiative, to that department, and it's in that sense. And rather than you being bombarded with thousands of phone calls from people in all kinds of different things, the idea is that the phone number is specifically related to the initiative that people are reading about and might want to contribute to. Simple as that. And I guess that 20 years ago, when there wasn't any emails, people used phones, didn't they?
Thank you. Gentleman in yellow.
Hi, I'm Glenn from Hounslow. There's a lot of crime that is happening in Hounslow, and I don't know what's the action plan going to be taken, because if I notice, it has been reported to the Met Police as well, and Met Police says it is the council's responsibility because the cameras don't work on the street.
Is this an item for the open forum? The open forum is next. This is specifically about the tracker this time. So you'll have a moment to ask your question. Okay, I'd like to move on to the councillors, if any have any questions about the tracker.
There's a question.
No? Okay, lovely. Okay, if the lady would like to ask a question.
Just to pick up on what the gentleman said up there, so I agree with everything he said, and I don't think it's the right approach to think that people will get a political leaflet through their door and assume that that's a sort of official communication and that's where they should get their telephone numbers from.
I didn't say that. I said my number's available. It's on the leaflet if people want it. The gentleman there was making the point, and I also agreed with that, saying if he wants to contact a particular department, and Christopher will take that away and look at that. There may be reasons we can't do it, I don't know, but I am saying my number's available, and it's available there if people want that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying, you're right, people might not want it in that form, that's absolutely fair, but it's also on the internet, and people can email me as well. That's what I was saying.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to move on to the open forum now, where this might be better discussed. So if anyone on the floor has any questions that don't relate to the tracker and item. Yes, the gentleman in yellow, you had a question. Thank you.
With regards to the crime that is happening in Hounslow, it has been increasing day by day. I would know, what is the action plan going to be taken by the council? And also, if it's reported to the Met Police, they say that it is the council. As the cameras on the road, they don't work. I don't know what's going to happen.
Thank you. I don't know if we have anyone here from Community Safety who can help with that question. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tara from the Safer Communities team. I'm the coordinator for the area. I'm not sure who posed that question. Hello. And you were asking about knife crime. Sorry? Are you talking about knife crime or night crime? Okay, well, I think it's a coordinated approach. Having visited Trimmer House only a couple of days ago to check on some CCTV that was going into a local road here. I can confirm that the CCTV does work, the cameras are working, they are checked, and the coverage is, in my opinion, it's excellent, and it's of really good quality, because you can have as many cameras as you like. However, they're not of good quality, that's no good either. There is lots of joint Met and Safer Communities projects ongoing. Next week is ASB Awareness Week, where we have a number of operations going across the borough. And part of that includes in Hounslow High Street on Bell Square on Tuesday. There is a sort of ASB knife crime awareness. The Home Office are providing funding for another knife bin to go back into Feltham. So that's sort of an amnesty bin. There's also going to be one on Hounslow High Street on the 7th of July. We're tackling some of the issues next week. There's an e-bike operation on Wednesday. And that's a joint operation with the Met Police to tackle the sort of high-rising sort of e-bikes and scooters that are causing issues across the borough. Last time that operation was run in November, 9 e-bikes were seized, and of course that has a sort of positive impact across the borough. In terms of Hounslow is still a safe borough. It is a low crime borough. You may not think that, and obviously that's some of your residents, that may not be your experience, but it is not just down to one partner, it's down to a coordinated approach with the Met, Safer Communities and community and voluntary groups. And I encourage people, if they have information and intelligence, to make sure that they submit it and they report it, so that actually the local Met Police can build up a picture of what is going on in their area, and to ask people to attend their ward panel meetings to raise priorities, what is a priority for them. Does that answer some of your question? Somewhat.
Thank you so much. Councillor Stroud-Turp, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, you were asking about cameras specifically, were you? Yeah, as you're probably aware, as a borough, we are particularly well served for cameras. We have a very good network, but we don't have an infinite amount. And cameras the location of cameras tend to be steered by crime reports and where they're most needed. And there are a number of places in the borough where cameras perform an incredibly effective deterrence against crime and detect a lot of crime. There are other places where we could put cameras, but it would be a wasted asset because there are not crime areas, and we'd be depriving, as the officer's nodding, we'd be depriving an area which desperately does need a camera. But where cameras are put are constantly reviewed and prioritised, and the police are spoken to regularly. And if an area starts to become a crime hotspot, if the police have got concerned, officers will review it and either look for a camera there on a permanent basis or potentially place a temporary camera there just to monitor what's happening. But as I say, as a borough, our CCTV network is exceptionally good. It's very high quality, and it's the staff who run it are incredibly highly trained at detecting, spotting, and following incidents and getting the police to them before they turn into serious incidents. So it's very hard, I understand, if there's somewhere where you think there should be a camera and there isn't, but the council does not have a sort of inactive policy. The camera policy is incredibly proactive and is always working with the police and the community safety officers to make sure that we remain a low crime and safe borough.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stroud-Turp, and thank you.
Just to reassure you, we do move the cameras around as and when needed.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions?
It's been told by the Met Police to various residents that the camera, whenever there is a crime, it's not given to as per the location. So when the crime has happened, the camera did not pick it up.
Thank you. Okay. So, Councillor Raza.
Thank you. Chair, thank you for your question as well. So, I've actually visited Trimmer Walk. So, not only am I here at Erie Forum, I'm also the chair of Overview Scrutiny, and I've been there all day. And the job that the officers do is exceptional. Huge amounts of work that goes on in Trimmer Walk. I've actually seen a CCTV as well. I've seen the room. It's a huge room. It's like a media theatre. It's huge. There's lots and lots of videos and cameras there. And they can, of course, change cameras where there is a hotspot. And just like the officer was saying, if there is a hotspot, do let them know. They will change a camera and put it where the hotspot is. And then with the Met, we can work in partnership, in tandem, to wherever the issue is. Okay? Thank you. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Councillor Raza. Lady on the end, please.
It was around a year ago that the new planning portal came into being. The test of it was a week before, which meant that there wasn't actually any time to put adjustments to it. It took until March this year to have a meeting online to discuss the difficulties. Essentially, it came out, it's not very user-friendly. We had recorded various issues that were going to be taken forward. That's March, we're now into June. Any reminders to that section that we really want some updates on what's going to happen are met with silence. I have also written to Councillor Bruce, I don't know, was it 2-3 weeks ago, raising this point because we were getting no replies. And I've had no reply from Councillor Bruce. So when are we going to get some updates and some improvement to the portal?
Okay. So I understand that Councillor Lukey attended a meeting, and so he didn't provide any updates at the meeting. Okay, I don't know if Councillor Bruce has anything further to...
No, not on the update specifically. I'm sorry if I missed an email from you 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'll check on that. If I can't find it, I'll let you know. If you could resend it, that would be useful. I know you weren't happy with the portal. It's a shame you're still not happy. There are always going to be some issues. It's a big thing, and it's going to work in the way that people want to use it, but we need that feedback. So it's useful that you've been giving that feedback. Lots of people, I found it really good. I found it very useful in the things that I've needed to use it for. But I just want to assure you that we are listening to that. I haven't got any specific feedbacks on the specific points you say you raised, but I can get those for you. I'll check my emails. I obviously missed it. So
we did have, after that March meeting, Matthew Rees actually annotated in an email to us all. It wasn't just me, it was quite a few other community groups, and he annotated issues we'd raised. Some of them he felt
so you have had feedback then?
No.
Oh, you haven't. Okay.
What I'm saying is he annotated the issues we raised. 1 or 2 of them he felt he couldn't do anything about, but there were a considerable number that he was going to refer to whoever it is that actually runs the website, that bit of the website. And we have asked twice, if not 3 times since then, when are we going to get a reply? Because we've had no reply from him, I wrote to you, and equally silence has reigned.
Okay, I am looking for it. I can't find a recent email. It's not to say you didn't send it. If you can send it again, that'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, we'll make a note of that, see if we can have some reply before the next area forum. Thank you. There are more questions? Gentleman at the back.
Hello again, Pete Harding. Two questions. One is an old-standing gripe. About 10 years ago, maybe even more, the great Mayor of London said he was going to do something about public toilets. And it seems that things have actually got worse. I've raised this as a borough-wide issue as well. It's actually an equality issue because it actually stops people going out if they can't get access to a public loo should they need it. But it seems there's even less public loos in Hounslow. There seems to be none in Isleworth. And so the question is, are the council actually going to do anything about getting public loos available for people? And the second question is, according to my neighbour, a few years ago I complained about the use of fertilisers which were carcinogenic in the borough to remove weeds and so on. And so the council, God bless them, got rid of them, weed killers, and did things manually. Rumour has it that they're bringing back those fertilisers again, which is clearly a danger to the environment. So two things, what we're doing about loos, and is it true that we're bringing back carcinogenic fertilisers? And if we are, can we stop?
Thank you. Councillor Bruce, did you want to say something?
So on the public loos, yeah, I absolutely agree, and a lot of other people agree with you as well. We've done some work recently on our public realm design guides. We've had officers standing outside in various different locations, different parks, outside the Sager building on the Great West Road, various different places, and gathering people's information about how our public realm works and how it doesn't. Some really good stuff and obviously some bad stuff, and one of the bad things was exactly as you say about public loos. So that will be coming through in the next few months, the publication of the design guide, and a significant part of that will be about the toilets. Now, I can't promise I'm going to be able to put toilets on every street corner and that kind of thing, but looking at how we do that, I mean, I looked across at Richmond, and they have a community toilet scheme, something I think it was called, and other councils across the country had different ones. Some have nothing, and some have something that, you know, works in different ways. But I want to have something that meets the needs of people, because I don't want people to feel they can't go out because they can't get access to toilets. I want people out and about and using the wonderful parks, our shops, etc. that we have. So absolutely, yeah.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone's got a comment on weed killer. I know weeds is one of those issues. Lovely. Thank you.
Hello. I'm one of the grant managers, but I was out visiting a project this morning with Lambton 360, and he confirmed that we don't use, so they are not allowed to use the weed killers and are doing everything manually. So weeds are being cut, which is causing a bit of a problem because they grow back very quickly, but we're not using that fertiliser, and I met with someone this morning. But we can add it sort of to Chris's list and just check that that's still the case and let you know.
Thank you. Councillor Bruce again.
So I don't want to speak over what you've just said. It's true we don't use it in the majority of cases. There are specific cases that we have been using it and continue to use it. There are certain invasive species in certain areas of the borough where we deem it necessary to use that sort of treatment in order to deal with it. But it is true, in the vast majority of cases we don't. What we are doing, and what may have been communicated, is we want to look at it again. Not to say, oh, we're just going to start blanket using it, but there's new information that comes through about it all the time. And we just want to make sure, other boroughs are doing the same, and we want to make sure we're as up to date as possible with it and seeing whether there needs to be something different. I appreciate what you're saying about it being carcinogenic. There's different evidence that says different things. And we also know weeds are a massive issue for people in this borough. The treatment we have about digging them out from our gutters and our footways works to a point. I mean, I think we've had someone here previously saying that, and other area forums, saying that it does work, but it doesn't deal with the roots. And so that can create problems with the footways and with the carriageways and that kind of thing. So it is not me saying, oh yeah, we're bringing it back and it's fine, but we are internally looking at where we might be able to, because we do use it in certain areas now. The majority will still be, certainly this year, be dug up because we know that's much better. But it is an issue where people feel that weeds are unsightly. And so it's trying to get that balance. It's one of the really, really tricky issues. It seems silly to say weeds are causing a massive problem in both ways. And we want to be able to deal with it. We just have to find the right solution for it. And we're doing that to the best of our ability at the moment, but we will reflect what different information comes through. Okay? So that's where we are. We don't use it in the vast majority of cases, and we'll continue not to.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. Lady in the middle, did you have a question earlier? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Judith Transon. I am a resident of Osterley and Spring Grove. And I have a couple of questions and a suggestion, but all on the same topic. So, first of all, let me just say that if the Hounslow Council has intended to bring Isleworth to a complete standstill and make it impossible for anyone to get anywhere out of Isleworth this summer, it succeeded because the coordination of the roadworks has been absolutely impossible. It's virtually impossible to get from where I live to St Margaret's in under an hour, and I have explored all the roads. So my request is, and my suggestion, that perhaps next time when the roadworks are scheduled, they're scheduled with a little bit more consideration for the motorists, the cyclists, and the pedestrians in the area. Number two is the curious case of the Ridgeway Road roadworks. So I live just off Ridgeway Road, and when I first got the letter that there is proposed changes to the road and the road's going to be narrowed, I was shocked also because it referred a consultation, which I wasn't part of. And it so happens that at the beginning of May, when the roadworks were started, I saw Tony Lukey on the road giving direction to the workers to start the work. And I spoke to him, and I said, why are we doing this? And he said, oh, it's been on the plan for a long time, it's been budgeted ages ago. Okay, that may well be true, and if it is, then it's even more curious, because if all the roads in the area, in the ward and the surrounding areas were well maintained and everybody was able to cross them safely, and Ridgeway Road was the last road, then it would make sense. But given that there is just 2 roads over, we have Osterley Road, which is very wide, cannot be crossed at the bottom of the road when it joins the Grove, and there has been a fatality there 5 years ago. I really don't understand how the council can prioritise the work on Ridgeway Road over doing something about Osterley Road. And secondly, you already had a failed experiment on doing similar work to the Grove Road, and you have put 2 flower beds, which sadly are not flower beds, they are weed beds at the moment. The grass grows very high, it obscures the vision for motorists and pedestrians, and it looks like what's happening on Ridgeway Road is going to be almost identical. So I would really like to understand what was the motivation in prioritising this work over other areas, especially the road that had a fatality.
Thank you. On your first question, I'd just like to say that I had hoped to have Hounslow Highways here tonight to explain what the council are able to do and not about a lot of the roadworks that are causing the problems between your area and Twickenham Road are emergency utility roadworks, which we have very little say over. But I think it'd be better. Hopefully Hounslow Highways will be able to come to the next meeting and explain what powers they do and don't have. I don't know if any of the Osterley councillors know anything about or want to say anything about the other issues. Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury.
So as Tony mentioned, Ridgeway Road had been planned for a very long time, and Osterley Road, this is part before the 5-year incident at Osterley Road, it had been planned for a very long time. So back when he was originally a councillor before I joined the council in 2018, so quite a while ago. But Osterley Road is on our agenda. As you said, there has been a fatality there, and also where Grove Road at the bottom meets, so there's no crossing that's safe. So that's something that I personally raised with officers to talk about, and it wasn't on their agenda, and I've asked them to put it on their agenda, and so it's now on the agenda to look at. There are going to be reviews of the whole Osterley area network, so looking at how the roads interact with each other and ensuring that they are safe. But like I said, because Ridgeway Road was already on that track, and the way the council operates is sometimes you get funding from particular sources that have to be spent by a certain time, and that was part of that bulk. No, so once they, because of the consultation, because of the outcomes, and I'm not sure why yours wasn't consulted, but I know the local schools were consulted. I know houses along Ridgeway Road, College Road, and surrounding areas should have been consulted. And again, like I said, this was a while ago. But I know you've lived in the area for a while, so I'm not sure why you didn't get that. But it is on the agenda, and I'm happy to give you an update on this after this as well, a bit more information if you would like.
Well, I'm really just a little bit concerned, given that we have discussed it over a year ago when I came to the area forum in St John's Centre. And I remember we had a conversation after the meeting about this, and I think you agreed that what was done on the Grove Road was less than ideal, and that the plans that were given and what the council agreed to and what we ended up with looks slightly different. My concern is that currently going out of the Grove onto the College Road, if you're in a car, you actually, it's just so narrow that you have to go onto the opposite lane to turn left. And my concern, looking at what's happening with Ridgeway Road, my concern is that we're going to end up in exactly the same situation, except slightly worse, because we have a road joining another road at quite a steep angle. And I really don't understand why the road had to be narrowed so much, and why do we have to have a flower bed that, well, I hope the council's going to have enough reason to put some low flowers in it, but my hope is diminishing with every minute. I just really think that those works over there are completely pointless. I understand that there might be things I don't understand, like how the funding works and you have to spend the money, but there must be a way for the council to say we have a greater need, because we're going to end up just, I think this is just not properly using public money and putting it where it could be needed if everything else was great, but not putting it where we have a real need. And that concerns me.
I'm happy to meet with you on site with officers to talk this in more detail, if that would be helpful.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Okay, I think last question from the lady in the front. Thank you.
Did I just speak in? Hello, my name is Alison. I live in Isleworth. And just to reiterate to this lady, strangely, Hounslow Council don't seem to consult people that well. One of the things I want to bring up is you're talking about the traffic problems that we have in Isleworth. And I wondered, have Hounslow considered on a temporary basis, when there is stress on the system, of reopening Church Street? Please, please, just get a barrier there that can be easily lifted. So when there's a crisis, you can at least split the traffic, and it would ease the traffic on Twickenham Road. You could make it one way, put in speed humps and speed controls, but really, truly, could you please look at that? And finally, I just want to bring up once again the closure of the H37 TH stop on Twickenham Road. My colleague and I have been round to Sermon's houses. We've had meetings with the people there. The closure has affected them really badly. One lady I can refer to, she basically used to use the stop to get to South Street. She'd get off, do a little bit of shopping because she can't walk very far, and get back on the bus to go home. She used to then use it to go to Richmond, across the road, into Marks and Spencer's and back home. She's lost that now. She cannot physically walk the distance. It's 300 yards to the next nearest bus stop, 280 to the next one, but crossing the Twickenham Road, she finds it very frightening. Please, please, could you please consider our request to keep the H37 bus stop open, make it dedicated for H37 only, but also please, please, could you consider in times of crisis opening up Church Street to allow the traffic as an escape valve to get through? Thank you.
Thank you. We've noted your comments. I'd just like to say that there were no written questions received before the forum, so we have no written answers today. So
I tried to put in a written request through the Talk Hounslow, and it obviously hasn't registered.
Okay.
It was to invite Councillor Catherine Dunn to attend, so I don't know how we can get that for the next forum, please. Thank you.
Okay, Christopher?
That's for the Brentford Forum, Monday the 14th of July. So I did respond to you to inform that's for the Brentford, not for this forum, yeah. Okay, so she's not for this forum. She's for the Brentford Forum. She's Brentford and Sion. She is, yes. But not for this area of forum specifically, because she doesn't manage these wards. As your ward councillor is here, as a ward update here. But for Catherine Dunn, she will be at the Brentford Sion Forum, as that's her ward. But if you need to get in contact with her, I did send you her contact details to message her directly for a traffic update. Okay? But I'm more than happy to send that to you again. Okay? That's okay.
Thank you, Christopher. I think we need to end that section there. Sorry for everyone who didn't get a chance to speak. You can put your questions on your forms and we'll endeavour to have a reply for you for the next area forum. And I don't know, have any councillors have any questions before we move on to the next item? No? Okay, marvellous. Agenda item 6 was going to be the Hounslow Borough Respiratory Support Group. Unfortunately, they've had to pull out at short notice. Hounslow Borough Respiratory Support Group has been unable to join us tonight and have sent their sincere apologies. We look forward to them joining us at a future forum. This item is a regular item on the agenda, and it's an opportunity for our local community groups to showcase their community impact. For future forums, we would like to invite local community groups from across these wards to showcase the fantastic work they're doing. Whether you're supporting residents, delivering projects or building connections, this is a great opportunity to share your successes, promote your initiatives and inspire others through the Area Forum platform. If you're interested in getting involved, please speak with me, the Deputy Chair, or Christopher Jarvis after, and we'd love to highlight your achievements and help spread your good news. So, let's celebrate the strength and spirit of our community together, something nice and positive, hopefully. Please make use of the feedback sheets on your chairs to provide suggestions of groups for future meetings. So, from that, I will move on to agenda item 7, which is a presentation on the Thriving Communities Fund, followed by questions and answers. Thank you.
Sorry, I thought it'd be easier if I could stand and see your faces rather than twisting my back. So my name's Halima. I work for what's called the Community Partnerships Unit. So my team in the council essentially are kind of tasked with kind of increasing the capacity of our community groups in our voluntary sector. And I'm one of the grant managers in that team. So we have a grant pot. Well, last year we had a grant pot of about £2.9 million. And this year we've got slightly less money, about 500k, but that varies through the year depending on kind of how much development there is in the borough. But I'll take you through my slide deck and give you a bit more information. So next slide, please. So the grants that I manage are called it's called the Thriving Communities Fund. We have 3 grants within that fund. So the small grant, the revenue grant, and the capital grant. And then I've got more details on each of the grants through the presentation. But essentially, the budget for those grants, the money that we have in the pot, comes from 3 main sources. So the first source is our housing revenue account. So that's when council tenants pay their rent to the council, and a very tiny amount of that rental income goes into kind of our grant pot. And the idea is we resource and fund projects that benefit our housing tenants. The second and the kind of the largest bit of funding comes from the Neighbourhood Community Infrastructure Levy. And this is whenever there is development in an area. So for example, a new block of flats go up, a new shopping centre. You might have heard of like Section 106. And there's also something called the Neighbourhood Community Infrastructure Levy. So it's a percentage a percentage of that levy comes to our team to fund community projects, to kind of increase services and kind of adjust what's going on in that local community for what will be often an increase in kind of population, or because there's flats, more people coming to live in a certain area. So that's the Neighbourhood Community Infrastructure Levy. And then the final bit of the budget comes from public health. So a lot of our grants that we give out to the voluntary sector are to improve people's well-being, get people out of the house who maybe are isolated, provide befriending services, lunch clubs, coffee mornings. For some reason, we have a lot of yoga projects, quite a lot of seated exercise projects that we fund. So we don't deliver these projects as the council. We fund voluntary organisations to deliver this work because they know their communities the best. Next slide, please. So the small grant, this is up to £1,000. And this grant is quite unique because we can fund groups of residents as well as community organisations. So if 6 residents have an idea, they can submit an application to us. The application is online, but my number is on the website. So if you wanted to call me and discuss a project, we could do that too. And we try to encourage projects that are around kind of environmental projects that bring neighbours out of their houses and meeting each other. So community cohesion, that type of thing. Health and well-being projects. So like I mentioned, kind of seated exercise, yoga. And then the final one is projects that target our council tenants. So projects that support residents on housing estates. Again, really about getting people to meet each other and increase that kind of community strength and that community resilience. So this year we have £30,000 to spend on our small grants, so not a huge amount of money. And so you can apply, for, like I said, up to £1,000 for a year-long project, £250 for a small one-off event. Like I say, you'd like a kind of a small street party to maybe we had quite a lot of VE Day celebrations in May. And £500 for larger one-off events. And we've been supporting quite a lot of things like kind of cultural festivals. The Polish Clan had a festival recently that we supported as well. There was Middlesex Pride that we're supporting. So quite a lot of different kind of events that take place across the borough. Next slide, please. So the bigger kind of bit of funding is the revenue grant. So that's up to £30,000 for constituted charitable organisation, so a not-for-profit organisation. This grant opens on the 1st of July, and we're focusing this grant on reducing inequality in the borough. So wherever there is inequality, we would like organisations to come forward with projects that will improve inequality. And we're thinking about like health inequalities, so people who are struggling with, diabetes, heart disease, people who are maybe have maybe like learning difficulties, that sorts of thing, getting people active, improving their mental health, improving their physical health. Because we know if people stay active, if people stay moving, if people stay connected to one another, it means they develop networks with one another. They're less likely to maybe get sick. They're less likely to need to be admitted to hospital. And then the second one is about improving household resilience. So things like improving the real inequality, which is around wealth inequality. So supporting people to find better jobs, access, kind of improve their skills, access maybe things like how to budget and improve their ability to kind of, I suppose, navigate kind of the cost of living crisis that has really just continued. And we want to do this by what we call our 10 equality opportunity clusters. So we've looked at the borough and we've identified areas of inequality where there is lower, say, household income. Maybe there are people who have higher levels of benefits, who need support, who need that extra support to get their lives kind of, I suppose, on track or improve their access to services, improve their achievement maybe at school, improve their kind of the jobs that they have so that they can bring in more money into their homes. And then also considering funding projects, directing funding say to older residents, to LGBT residents, to disabled residents. So we're kind of thinking about how we improve the equality for everyone in the borough. Okay, next slide. And then the final grant is our capital grant. So this primarily comes from the community infrastructure levy that I talked about. So when there's development, there is a levy on that development that we then will invest in local communities and primarily in physical buildings and assets. So we're looking to improve community buildings and green spaces. Sorry, I should have told you what these pictures are. So this is the Werther Community Hall, the Woodlands Estate Freeholders Residents Association. They were recently awarded, I think, £12,000 to improve their toilets because they don't have disabled toilets. So they can't offer their services. They run, coffee mornings, they run mother and toddler groups, they run lots of really incredible services in that building. But without the disabled toilets, they can't have people in wheelchairs, or, it's really difficult if someone has a baby in a pram just to get them into the toilets. So that was a project that we funded very recently. It's a two-stage process, so if you have an idea as a resident for something maybe you might like in your local park, we're obviously not going to give you 50k to build a play area. We can take that idea on, speak to our parks team and say, could we redevelop this play area? Could we develop a green gym, those kind of gym equipment that the adults use? So sometimes we may deliver the projects ourselves. Sometimes we will give that money to community organisations to deliver those projects. So for this example, Werther have been given the money to develop and improve the disabled toilets. We wouldn't do that work for them. And the capital grant is due to reopen in October. So if you have any kind of ideas or thoughts, you can reach out to me. I think there's a couple more slides. Are we okay for time? Yeah. So applications are made via an online portal, but we are very flexible. Like I said, my phone number and my colleague's phone number is on the website. If you can't do the online form, we will come to you. We'll meet in a local library. We can fill in the forms on paper if we need to. Next page, please. So this is just a couple of grants that have been awarded in this kind of area, in this area forum. So I talked about Werther, the Woodlands Estate Resident Freeholders Association. The Isleworth Bowls Club were funded through the capital grant. So this was to fund the construction of a kiosk and a crazy golf facility, which I think is still kind of being developed. And then we've also funded some work to Thornbury Park. So this was £30,000 to improve the paths in Thornbury Park. It's not happened yet. We have ring-fenced this money, and we are sort of waiting for some project management expertise from parks to kind of deliver that. But there's kind of some muddy paths that just need to be kind of improved in that park just to make them a bit safer and reduce some ASB in the park. Next slide, please. So this is the revenue grant. There's a couple of projects taking place in this area. So we've already mentioned the Hounslow Borough Respiratory Support Group. We gave them £12,000 to try to support them to become more sustainable. And the idea was with this money they could fund an administrative role, for kind of a part-time administrative role to improve their sustainability. Food with Love project, so this is the free meal delivery service for vulnerable residents. I think it's one of the only ones in the country that offer completely free hot meals delivered to residents. It's quite a small project, but they have quite big aspirations. The West London Ghanaian Association, I think I spelled Ghanaian wrong. So this is a year-long project to take older Ghanaian residents. I mean, it's not specific to the Ghanaian community. Anyone can be part of that organisation. But the idea was to get those people who have really been isolated after COVID, scared to come out of their homes, difficulties accessing the bus system, to kind of hire, very simple project, hiring a minibus, getting people on the bus, taking them to places like Boston Manor, Chiswick House, you know, often places that are free to access, to just enjoy those facilities that we were very lucky to have in the borough. And then finally, Compound Sports, who run free basketball classes for girls. There's a girls-only class and a mixed class, and that runs at West Thames College. And that's about kind of keeping our young people fit and active, but also away from kind of slightly more dangerous activity they can sometimes get involved with if they're kind of left to their own devices and they don't have kind of constructive activity. And that's actually led by a sports coach at the college. So it's a really nice partnership between the college and the council. So the college give the space for free. And, you know, we really just fund a bit of the trainer time and insurance and things like that. Okay, next slide. And we've got loads of small grants in this area. I just picked a couple of them. You might recognise some of the organisations. So the Isleworth Lions Club, they do an annual duck race. It brings out a lot of residents. They raise money for charity. It's really great. I think they raised money for the Mulberry Centre this year. What else have we got on here? The South Street Cafe. So this is last Christmas. They do a project where they get older people into the church and they do Christmas carols and hot food and, you know, again, just kind of building that kind of community spirit. Middlesex Pride, which ran in the Osterley Park last year. Yeah, there were many, many more small grants in the area. I just thought I'd kind of put a few of them up on the wall just to give you a sense of the kind of projects that we fund. What we do is when we get applications in, we do try and think about that cross-ward, cross-area forum spend. So it's a slightly smaller area forum here, so that's why there's not as many projects, but still quite a few projects. And I can provide a full list of all of the funded projects if that's useful. Next slide, please. Oh, that's it. So thank you. If you have any questions, obviously you can ask them now. I'm here at the front. Email address and telephone numbers are on the slide deck, and they're on the website as well. So yeah, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, like I said, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Halima. I think Councillor Sampson, did you want to say something?
Halima, just for clarification, funny enough, I got asked this question just as I came in this evening. The small grants, the 250 and the 500, how many times a year can you apply for those? Once each?
Yes, you can only have one small grant.
Yeah.
And in the past, when we had more money, we would let you do maybe 2 events and give you 500 twice, so give you £1,000.
Yeah.
But because we've got much less funding, if you apply for one event, that's it, £500, and you'd have to wait for next year to apply again.
For the 500, but then, yeah. But in the same year, can you apply for the 250?
No.
No, it's only one. Thank you.
Just once, yeah. Unless there's really good reason and it's, you know, yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury.
You mentioned in the place section there's 10 opportunity areas, or I can't remember exactly what you call them. What are those 10 areas?
Yeah, so they're called the 10 equality opportunity areas. Off my memory, they are, so there's one in, there's a college opportunity in Cranford. So what's the, Chris, do you know the one that's, there's a, I'm so sorry. But basically, what the council has done is taken what's called the English multiple vector.
I just want to know which are in the area for Hounslow, South, Isleworth and Austin Spring Grove, if any are. Because I know there's quite a few in Felton, Cranford, Hanworth, because there's obviously huge inequality there. But I'd like to know where. Where.
There is a spot that includes this part of the area forum. But it's kind of, it takes a look at the borough that is completely, almost like wards and area forums kind of are irrelevant in the way it looks at the borough. So it looks at what's called LSOAs, so these tiny, like, I think even smaller than a postcode. And it looks at what's called the indices of multiple deprivation, and that's how we work out the equality opportunity clusters. But potentially it's a topic to discuss at a future area forum. But I will get you the name of the kind of cluster that's located here.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Oh, this is where. Hello. I just want to ask, how do you? I'm shocked to see that nearly £200,000 was given to the Isleworth Bowling Club. Who decides how the money's allocated? Thank you.
Yeah, no, good question in terms of how the money is allocated. So essentially what we call the delegated authority is with our assistant chief executive. So projects come to us, come to the grant managers. We will assess them based on like the number of beneficiaries, how much we think it will benefit a local area. With the Isleworth Bowls Club, the idea was that because it's a council-owned asset, we really need organisations that lease our assets to be as resilient, as financially resilient as possible, so that they can pay rent and eventually maybe they can even pay, a little bit more, and those assets become kind of revenue making for the council. And so the idea behind the kiosk and the Crazy Golf was really to get the Bowls Club to be kind of, I suppose, more sustainable and building a source of income for themselves to then it essentially kind of give back to the council as well, obviously as well as give to the community. So kind of a bit of a strategic sense for the council. But the decision making is by Mandy Skinner, so the assistant chief executive. So she will make the decisions, kind of on behalf of the cabinet, so the cabinet members.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions on this item?
So just a very quick question. I'm also work with Home Start that provides services right across the borough. So these areas of deprivation, multiple deprivation that you're referring to, so if we're applying for a grant, do we just have to have one of those in there? If it goes as across the borough, it just seems, I understand that you're slicing and dicing the arrangements here, which actually makes it a bit odd for charities that are actually working across the borough and not making distinctions. We're serving the need where it exists. Yeah.
Yeah, no, really, really good question. And we kind of agonised a little bit about this. But if you think about Home Start, that's primarily targeted at families and young people. So that's what we've got in it. We've got equality by place and by people. So that would fit under kind of almost both of those points, because you know that people accessing Home Start will come from families who are kind of socially deprived in terms of... Okay.
Isolated or suffering health problems.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. So then that young people element, it would fit under that young people element too. Yeah. So that's kind of how we've tried to, not to kind of discredit, I suppose, or put organisations that are cross-borough at a kind of a lower order. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and I mean, what we will also do is, on the council website, all of the equality opportunity areas, you can literally search by postcode. So, if you can show that the people attending, a percentage of them are coming from those areas, that's also really, really useful. But kind of the whole council's, I suppose, mission at the moment is really to target those areas of deprivation and improve them and kind of bring them up to the borough average. So that's kind of the, lots of teams are working on improving that. That's why a lot of the community hubs are running in those spaces. But it absolutely doesn't mean that borough-wide organisations can't apply.
Yeah, I realise they probably can apply, but I think you really have to think very carefully, not you personally, but obviously whoever has decided the strategy, that targeting, because clearly it's the council's intention to level up, and who would disagree with that, but it can even act as a disincentive for community activity and involvement because of the way that you're targeting the support for community groups.
Okay. Maybe we could talk about it after a bit more. It'd be really good to get maybe have a one-to-one conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. The lady in the middle there, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on the question asked earlier about the club who got almost £200,000. Based on what you explained, it looks to me like there was one person making the decision, and the decision to award this significant amount of money was based on the fact that it would be a return on investment. So I'm assuming that there has been analysis made how adding those two things, the kiosk and the Crazy Golf, would actually provide this return on investment, and that can be available to the public?
Yeah, I mean, I think in many ways, yeah. So we will produce like annual reports on what we funded. So yeah, we can.
I'm not
specifically that.
I'm asking specifically. This is a significant amount of money, and by what you said, it's one person making a decision. So there must be an analysis that is made saying investing £200,000 is going to give us over the next 10 years, 6 million based on the following criteria: the level of interest in crazy golf in the area, the level of involvement from the local community based on the past numbers. I mean, there must be some analysis, right?
Yeah, absolutely, but I mean, not to that extent. That is, so this is in the context of a 1.9 million budget last year. So we had 1.9 million in our capital pot last year. So there was significant investment in quite a lot
of the whole budget.
Yeah, so quite
that's a lot.
No, absolutely. But yeah, so we obviously, there's absolutely analysis was made in the sense of like, is this a good investment? Is this, I mean, but specifically the exact return on investment, no, the calculation, the decision is not made specifically on that return on investment, because obviously
perhaps
it's not just
be
about return on investment, it's also about, there are things that are valuable to communities that are not just about how much money comes back to the council. Does that make sense? So it's not just about physical, monetary return on investment, but also like what are the benefits to the community? What kind of relation? How is the community improved, and how do we improve our local resources? That is not about just money. I was just giving it one of the reasons was to do with the fact that by improving a council asset, we kind of improve the sustainability of an organisation that's operating in a council-owned space.
I hope you understand that this looks really dubious.
Okay.
And personally, as a resident here, I would like to have a little bit more evidence that there is a real reason to spend that level of significant amount of money on something like that.
Okay, thank you for all your questions. If there's nothing more, we'll move on to agenda item 8, which is ward updates and action plans. We've asked councillors to provide brief updates, and I believe 3 councillors have provided updates this time. And I'd just like to ask Ms. Medici to read.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. No? Yes? We have received some updates from Councillors Lukey, Councillor Chowdhury, Councillor Bruce, and Councillor Raza. Christopher Jarvis, our Community Development Officer, has also provided a little update. I'm going to read his statement to begin with. He said, all ward walks across the 3 wards have now been completed, with reports finalised and shared with relevant teams to provide updates on the actions taken in response to any issues that have been raised. It was encouraging to see residents and council teams come together during these walks to identify and address local priorities. The ward walks will resume in the winter round, so if you have missed one, there is opportunity later in the year, with dates to be confirmed in due course. The other updates were mostly around the type of activities the councils have been engaged in, including a number of resident meetings, ward surgeries, ward walks, resident meetings, and a number of ad hoc meetings which have been provided by each of those councils in turn. And that information can be available on the minutes.
Thank you, Jane. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything, any of the councillors. Councillor Chowdhury.
Just to say, if you'd like to go in a ward walk in Austin Spring Grove Ward, then please do speak to me or Aftab later. And we're happy to do ward walks in areas that are relevant to you.
That's a very good point. So yes, obviously you can speak to any of us councillors. Councillor Bruce.
Yes, I was going to say likewise for Hounslow South. I'm sure the same for Isleworth. We'd be very happy if people want to show us particular places. We would also do that. Just to say, when we reconfigured the area forums, one of the first actions that I put down that I wanted sorted was the resurfacing of Whitton Dean. In the autumn last year, I got assurance from Spiel Khan who's now the interim assistant director of transport here, that the money would be available for the resurfacing of Whitton Dean, and I can confirm, because Karen, Sia and I went last week to see it being done, that Whitton Dean has been resurfaced. So absolutely fantastic. There is a section that has not been done. Again, I mean, we were talking about funding and various different streams for roads. There's a bit that hasn't been done yet because the funding hasn't been confirmed that we will get it. When it's confirmed, hopefully in the next couple of months, that bit will be done in the autumn round of resurfacing. So at that point, all of it will be sorted, but most of it's been done so far. So it's a fantastic news.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. Councillor Stroud-Turp.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Just one thing I just wanted to bring to people's attention. There was an event yesterday in Isleworth Public Hall from Thames Water about their water extraction proposal, and that's out for consultation. I would really encourage everybody to go online, or you can pick these up at various places, right to Thames Water, and it's a bit of a skewed consultation in as much that it only asks you to what you think about the scheme, not whether the scheme should actually be going forward. It's very much in the Heathrow Airport model of consultations, but I would recommend that everybody puts a comment in. For those of you who aren't aware, I'll quickly, briefly explain what it is. It's part of Thames Water's resilience scheme, alleged resilience scheme, which is to build a new reservoir in the Lee Valley, which is in northeast London. And the idea being they're going to extract water from the Thames, the other side, relatively clean water, the other side of Teddington Lock. At periods of drought, that will be pumped up to the Lee Valley, but that will clearly reduce the level in the tidal area of the Thames. They then propose to pump tertiary treated sewage and runoff water. That means it's treated to a higher level than normally would be, but nevertheless, it's still treated sewage that they're putting back into the tidal Thames, and that will be coming in round about the Mogden, Isleworth, Kingston area, so it will affect this area. There's been a lot of doubt cast whether that is a good scheme or not, because there's a better scheme being proposed in Oxfordshire, which is to build a much bigger reservoir, which takes water from the headwater of the Thames, stores it there, then distributes absolutely clean water. Surprisingly, the people of Oxfordshire aren't too keen on this particular scheme. And the other thing about the Thames water scheme, which we've got here, is that there's going to be a tunnel driven from Mogden sewage works. There won't be any or a great deal of physical disruption in Hounslow, other than there's going to be up to 50, so 100 vehicles a day moving in and out of Mogden, removing spoil for a significant period. So those of you, it doesn't matter if you're in Isleworth or wherever, if you live around the area, I would really encourage people to do a little bit of research and write in on the consultation and tell Thames Water. It will go, I think it's going directly to the Secretary of State ultimately, what you think of the scheme, but please follow that through.
Christopher, would it be possible to put a link on Let's Talk for the consultation? Thank you. Do we have any questions about the ward updates? Lady in the pink t-shirt. Thanks.
Hello? Yeah. Yeah, I was there yesterday as well. And one of my concerns about these 100 journeys in and out of Mogden every day from 8 o'clock till 6 o'clock and on Saturday mornings will be for a minimum of 3 years. They wouldn't say, they just kept saying a certain amount of time, a certain amount of time. Now, we all know, or most of us ought to know, that nitrogen dioxide emissions are mostly caused from road traffic. They're also caused from aircraft as well. So that is going to raise the levels of pollution. And they wouldn't say what they were going to do to mitigate the noise levels and the dust, because there will be an awful lot of noise for anybody who lives in the sort of that area around Mogden, the Ivy Bridge estate and so on. It's just going to be horrendous if it goes ahead.
Sorry, forgive me if this isn't appropriate, but there is an organisation called Solar, SOLAR. Just Google it. They are based in Teddington, and they're actually very good for information. And okay, I will be honest, they are against the extrapolation of the water from the Thames. I went to the presentation as well, and from my point of view, it's left me with some real concerns. Sorry if that's inappropriate.
Thank you. Councillor Siddiqui, you wanted to...
First, we'll take the question.
Oh, sorry. Okay, the lady in the middle there, please.
I just wanted to ask, what is the council position on that?
Broadly against
Could you please quantify what you mean by broadly?
Broadly, it's not our decision, so it's rather difficult to say, you know, I could stand up and go, oh, it's terrible, and I don't like it, and I don't want it to happen, but then we'll ignore. I think the key for the council is that we need to be working with Thames Water on a whole range of things, and if this goes ahead, we need to get some assurances from Thames Water about exactly what mitigations they will put in place. Those are the key things. I think it's been very clear from what the Isleworth Council specifically, who are the ward councillors dealing with this, that they have some significant concerns, and that will be put in as their submission to the consultation. But from a general council perspective, we have to be working with them to find the best possible solution for the area. Now, that may mean I don't know the whole detail about that, but what I do know is when we're working with anyone is trying to find the best ways of mitigating anything, it doesn't matter what it is, and ensuring that our residents are protected. It's, you know, like Janet's talking about air pollution, how are they going to deal with that? 50 to 100 trucks a day for 3 years is going to ruin the road surface. What are they going to do about that?
I was just about to say, yeah. Are you going to get some money from them for that?
There are loads of things. No, so, you know, I agree. Taking a position on something where we're not the decision maker is difficult. So I want to be in a position where I can influence the bits that I can and have that stake in the stuff that is going to happen. Because just holding up my hands and going, as a deputy leader and as a cabinet and as a leadership, just holding up my hands and going, I don't like it, I don't want to know, is not going to do anything for you and residents in Hounslow. So it's that sort of position. I'm very happy that councillors are putting in objections and saying they don't like it. I would encourage residents to do the same. I personally have concerns about it, and I'm happy to say that publicly. All the stuff that's been raised, and that Councillor Stroud-Terp's raised as well, but I do want to caveat that with, I still want to have that communication and those links with Thames Water to, whatever happens, make sure that we find the best possible ways forward for residents. Does that? I'm not trying to fudge it. I just want to be clear about the position.
So rather than answer I'm not saying we shouldn't, but rather than answer a rather skewed survey from Thames Water themselves, for those residents that are concerned, would they be better placed to contact the council or the councillors and raise objections and make sure that their voices are heard that way? Because can I just clarify, if you receive 200,000 letters saying we do not want this, would you be more comfortable raising your voice and saying we don't want this?
No. I mean, you can write to me and I can receive 200,000 emails and we can receive that, but we're still not the decision maker on it. And I think that's really, really important. So writing to the consultation that goes to the Secretary of State, who is the decision maker, is the key to this.
Okay, all right.
I think that I just want to be really, really clear.
I didn't realise the consultation goes to them.
I believe that's the case. Is that yeah.
Yeah,
that is right. Yeah, yeah.
The Secretary of
State because they are the decision maker, and they are going to make a decision on whether this should take place, in what form it takes place. So from the council's position, it is therefore about working with what we are essentially given, but trying to find the best possible solution for residents, whatever the outcome may be. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, to follow on. This is the Secretary of State's decision. And I mean, Thames Water, as most of the water companies are, a fairly shocking organisation who were given carte blanche by the last government to do pretty much what they wanted. So slowly as regulation comes in, we're hoping more's going to be done. But the whole idea that a private concern can make profit out of what is actually now a dwindling resource, which is water, is personally I find quite shocking. And if Thames Water, and it is, if those of you follow the news will know, is on the brink or the verge, and has been for a while, of coming back into public ownership, these schemes may be reviewed anyway, because they're being done, or certainly this water extraction scheme is not necessarily being done because it's the most effective or it's the most engineering, I'm trying to think of the verb now, most engineeringly sound. It's the one that costs the least amount of money to Thames Water.
Thank you, Councillor Stroud. Councillor Chowdhury.
Just to say, SOLAR stands for Save Our Lands and River. The reason I'm saying what it is just so if you Google SOLAR, it might be a bit hard to find it. And local resident Heather has been quite vocal on this, and you may have seen her in the news speaking about it as well.
Yeah. And can I just say, I just want to say as well, as far as I know, Ruth Cadbury our MP is against the scheme, I believe.
Thank you. Gentleman up at the back there, please.
Sorry, just very quickly. I mean, it seems to be the British politicians like to not actually give answers these days, and it seems to me, with respect, that if the majority of residents are against this, and from what I've heard of it, which isn't very much, but what I've heard today gives me the impression it's a dreadful scheme and should be opposed at all chances. Surely, rather than sitting on the fence, okay, you can talk to Thames Water, you know, they're pretty corrupt, as we know. You know, probably the shareholders do very well out of it, if nobody else does. But we should be saying to the Secretary of State, this is a dreadful scheme, get in there early and actually say what the view is of this council, rather than saying, oh, well, you know, we don't know what we like to keep. We need to keep in touch with them because we've got, true, you've got to keep in touch with them, but at the same time, you can be saying the general view of this council is we are totally against this for all the reasons that you can outline, and to get to the Secretary of State and tell him or her. Is it him or her? Don't know, sorry. But that's just, you know, just a thought, is we should be taking a stand on it.
Thank you. The lady over the other side, please, at the back. Sorry.
Thanks. Yeah, I was just going to add to that. I think the Lib Dem MPs in Richmond and Twickenham have gone public on their dissatisfaction with the scheme. So it seems that it is a good time to get in early and make it clear if that is the feedback that you're getting, rather than, you know, just focusing on mitigation, which obviously is important too. But it seems others are going on the offensive and getting the view out there.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we'll end that there, so we'll move on to agenda item 9.
And it's on. All I wanted to ask is, how does one find out when these ward walks are taking place, before they take place, and how does one find out what the results are after they've happened?
Christopher, would you like to answer?
So with the dates, they get sent out to our wards councillors and to provide their dates on when their availability is, and they will also inform you of when they are taking place. Then you can get in contact with myself directly, and I can definitely send an email out to you and where the location is taking place in future, if you'd like to during our ward walks. Yeah?
I've never heard of
Thank you, Christopher.
I think the second thing, Christian, your question regarding what happens on the walk. So we do come up with a bit of action plan. We identify the areas which need some improvement in terms of, if there is regarding the road surfaces are not right, there's some cleaning issues, trees are overhanging. So all this is taken account, and then we follow that up with Chris as an action plan, and that's implemented. So it's all kind of works around looking at the local issues and resolving local issues locally as quickly as possible. So that's what is the outcome of the walk. So your councillors, both of should get in contact with you and let you know when the reward walks are. And they're pretty flexible in terms of availability. Probably it just decided probably a week before, just getting the diaries in order. So, but you're very welcome to join your councillors. Okay, point noted, we'll look into this, Christian, and we'll come back to you. Chris?
Thank you. Agenda item 9, there is no urgent business that I've been notified of. Therefore, please note the date of the next meeting is the 14th of October, and it will be here again. The meeting is now closed. Thank you all for attending.